we will see more and more urgency with the development of AI and AI becoming more and more accurate.
Large language models are pretty generic, and it takes really long time to make it very good at one thing.
Being passionate for the problem and being really bothered, so you go out there and change it.
I'm actually disrupting your business model, so come up with something new, and then this is what my product does.
Oh, Aizada this, Aizada that.
Oh, I really hope Asror goes back and one day he becomes Prime Minister or President of Uzbekistan. I can definitely see how we could work together.
The odds are against you at this
Yep.
point.
Good job. You just ruined the future of yourself and of your kids.
Why all people are crazy? Why life's so amazing? And when I sometime I wanna cry.
Hello everyone, this is Silkroad Podcast. Silkroad Podcast is organized and provided to you by Silkroad Innovation Hub. Silkroad Innovation Hub is a hub and a platform for founders from Central Eurasia. Today with us, Aizada Marat. Aizada Marat is an entrepreneur, lawyer, a public figure from Kyrgyzstan. She's a leading public figure. There has been a lot of news recently about Aizada. We just watched her podcast. It was a documentary movie almost. So, Aizada, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Asror.
Yeah, Aizada is a really great friend, and I know Aizada a lot. So today, it's gonna be a topic for me to explore Aizada also, because it should be the podcast should be interesting first of all, and second, there's so much information about Aizada you can read. Like there's out there the podcasts.
I'm almost an open book.
Yeah. Like if someone Googles Aizada, there's so much available. So we're not gonna concentrate on publicly available information, but we're gonna touch some of them. Today, the main topic we're gonna discuss what Aizada is doing currently. We talked with her co-founder Asel from Alma. So maybe there are points that Aizada wants to discuss. We're gonna be discussing those, and we will be diving into AI in Silicon Valley, what's happening around in general, and we'll be diving in some personal stories, maybe.
Cool.
Aizada, what you doing currently? Tell me briefly, maybe something you want the world to know.
Currently, all of my time, of course, is dedicated to Alma. At Alma, we help immigration attorneys to draft documents better, faster, so that they have time to spend things on more, meaningful and important tasks. And right now, we have, of course, our first customers. They're using it. They're using it a lot, providing feedback, and it's been a great journey. Every day, when someone who uses our product says, "Oh, I use your product. It's great. It's just saved me a lot of time." That's music to my ears. That makes me very happy.
Yeah, this is great. I myself use your product. I use the product to generate a couple of recommendation letters in my work, and it's great. The response, which is you've tailored it to specific purpose. Tell me about where did you get the idea from? Was it from your own experience, or how did the idea come from? Should these startup founders be looking for ideas to start their companies?
It's a good question. Because, when I left McKinsey, I actually thought that I will be working for another startup. And I got offers, but then I actually realized that I want to do something of my own, but I just didn't have an idea. So then it was all about just discovering the idea. And when I organized a lot of these dinners with Silicon Valley icons, I learned a lot. I learned that in the application layer, domain expertise means something. Because if you're going after some certain vertical, and if you know something in that space, that might be helpful in building the startup. And then I thought, okay, what I did majority of my life, I worked as an attorney. I know a thing or two about the space. And then I thought literally about what did I do at Cooley and what pain points that I had at Cooley I could solve. And I thought maybe this, maybe that. I'm not going to give away all the things that I thought about, but But then I thought, okay, is it a pain point? And I was like, okay, it is a pain point, yes. But then the second question was like, is there an urgency in solving this pain point? And then I was like, I'm not sure. And then it was like, are the law firms ready for this? And especially their clients, are their clients ready? Because when you go to companies like Cooley, you understand that you go there because you want to get white gloves, high touch services. You want poor associates to be available 24/7, and if you call them at 1 a.m. they respond to you. That's the type of professional services these big law firms are in, right? So then I thought, okay, like what is important to clients of Cooley? They want high touch services. I don't know if they really care about all the efficiencies that AI actually offers, because what's the one thing that AI is offering right now? It's productivity and efficiency gains. And then I thought, is it interesting to them? And then I thought, not so much. They'd rather have someone who could solve their specific problem, because we know that AI large language models are pretty generic and it takes really long time to make it very good at one thing. So that's why it's like I decided to pivot away from like big law, and the these are like were one of the considerations, but one of the biggest problems I thought was hard to actually make the industry shift was the billable hour model, right? Because at Cooley and all other big law firms, they charge by hour. So if you offer them productivity and efficiency gains, it's like how their business model needs to change. You're disrupting their business model. And it's very hard to sell something when you're going and saying, I'm actually disrupting your business model, so come up with something new, and then this is what my product does. And I thought it was a hard sell. And especially given that all of these big law firms are enterprise sales cycles are long. And in the generative AI layer, in the application layer, you want sales cycles to be faster because you want to get fast feedback and iterate. So I figured I cannot afford to close one company in a year or something. And I didn't want to like be in enterprise sales game right away. So then we decided to pivot away from to not to look at like big law firms, and then we started looking at areas of law where they had flat fee or contingency fee type of business models. And of course, we thought immediately about immigration because I'm an immigrant myself. I had huge problems with immigrations when I moved here in 2018 with my husband. I couldn't get my green card for almost 2 years. It was such a painful problem. Like, I had my offer from Cooley, I couldn't work. And I started applying for O1 visa in the meantime because I was desperate. I had to work, and it was just really difficult times. So I figured that immigration attorneys are really doing a lot of impact on individuals' lives. And then I also thought that when they charge some amount of fee, they charge flat fee. So productivity and efficiency gains could be super interesting to them. So from there, we actually went and spoke with like 30 immigration law firms, and then we tried to identify their pain point. And we've identified their pain point was about drafting the documents. So this is how the idea. Sorry, gave a really long answer to your short question.
No, it's a great answer. It's a wonderful insight. And do you think, like, come to think of it, is it like the urgency of the issue, of the pain point? Do you think it's like some of the companies right now, it might not be that urgent, but with the appearance of new companies, for instance, there might be a completely new structured law firm which comes to the field and like fully utilizes all the available tools and like crushes the market, like crushes the game in there, like provides the services like 10 times cheaper of the cost because like they don't have to hire as many associates, they don't have to run the summer internship program now. So do you think like we will see more and more urgency with the development of AI and AI becoming more and more accurate?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I believe the space is going to be disrupted. It's not going to be big law firms actually adopting the technology. It's going to be new type of companies that combine both the technology and services, and they actually sell legal outcomes so that they just do everything, but their attorneys would be like 100x more efficient than attorneys of big law. The only thing is always, I think, is about the risk, because like these companies do some of the very, very like very, very big sensitive and risky deals, right? Like the ticket of this deals might be like in hundreds of millions and billions. And if the cost of closing a deal is like $1 billion, would you really try to catch some efficiencies in terms of legal fees? Not so much, right? But enterprise, so my point is like enterprise still might stay with big law firms because they would want high touch, but anyone other than enterprise, especially like smaller companies, which are the majority everywhere in the world, right? The market is super big. They actually would be super interested in what you're saying, in law firms that actually like AI native, technology native law firms where attorneys are really good at using technology, and then there are like 100x attorneys.
Yeah, definitely. Now we're talking like immigration field. Like you usually see someone usually older running the firm, and like the associates also more experienced, and they're not like in many cases tech savvy. So yeah, I hope this happens, and the legal field in the United States has not been disrupted for many years.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like everyone nowadays, like there has been a discussion on Twitter about the university which was charged like some couple of $1 million for some very short service, and like they were charged $2,000 an hour, and everybody going bonkers on that. Yeah, hope that comes. With your co-founder SL, we discussed a point where some of the big players in the market might disrupt or eat Alma's bread in the market. She provided pretty good response on what you're targeting and what your focus is, and it's going to be a long time since anyone comes after you. But like, can you tell me more? What do you think, and what's your belief, and what are the strategies for Alma to be on top of the game, so that like the bigger players or some of the newcomers who are like with their team also like really like AI native, like maybe not to get run over or
Yeah. That's the question we've been asking ourselves as well, because as you've mentioned, legal tech space is incredibly hot right now. Every day there are new entrants. And the thing is that I think what's super important to understand, that before large language models became a thing, there was a regular software. And regular software, like B2B software defensibility, would be built around distribution, go-to-market, embedding into the workflow, and delivering a better product and customer experience. So that's what was their defensibility. And with AI, everyone thought like, oh, AI is going to be the defensible technology, but it's not. If you're not building a large language model, if you're not building something like deeply related to the infrastructure, if you're building in the application layer just like us, the defensibility of the technology is not that great. Others can do it. Of course, it's going to take time. It's going to take time, like maybe half a year, but others will, and I'm sure they will catch up. They'll copy what we are doing for sure. Because even right now, like we're doing a lot of things, I think among our peers, we might be ahead, but I'm sure they'll catch up. They'll see our demos at some point. We cannot gatekeep what we are doing, but we are thinking about certain technology as well. In the back end, because once we started building with AI, we actually understood all the intricacies and how actually it is difficult. Everyone thought, oh, basically ChatGPT can do it. But now, you know who actually buys our product very easily? Those who have tried to use ChatGPT, because they've tried it multiple times and they're pro users of ChatGPT, and they're like, but it still doesn't do what your product is doing. How? And that's why they get intrigued, and that's why like they sign up for the product easier. That's what I understood. It's like it makes my job even easier if they use ChatGPT. If they have not used ChatGPT, they'll be like, how your product is different from ChatGPT, so that's what I've understood. And I was like, this is interesting discovery for myself. But what are we focusing, of course, is like great product experience is a must. It has to be super easy. Like if I teach this to my grandma, she should be able to use it right away, right? That's super important. It has to embed into their workflow, and we should be able to collect certain data that becomes our moat. Because like what are we trying to do is that like to understand bigger market insights, not only what our like particular customers are doing, but get bigger market insights that our customers would benefit from, collecting data. And then of course is like becoming so essential in their workflow that they would want to keep us even if competitors come. And the accuracy, the relevancy of our document, the consistency of our outputs really, really matter. So if we deliver a product that's, you know, marginally better than our competitor's product, I'm sure we will win the market. But it's always about constantly reinventing yourself, being on top of all the AI technology that's, you know, AI technology breakthroughs that are happening. We're reading all the papers, we're trying to understand what others are doing. We're constantly talking to other technical people and trying to understand like what certain like technology things that could help us improve the accuracy, the relevancy, the consistency, those sorts of things, like even marginally, that would help us help our product become more defensible.
Yeah, this is great. Um, Recently, you've onboarded a co-founder,
Yes.
the third one. Can you tell me about more? How was the process like? If I remember correctly, when we did the discussion with Asel, there wasn't announcement about the third, the technical co-founder. Can you tell me about the process?
Yeah, we actually tested quite a few because we Asel and I, we understood it that finding a co-founder, it's a very difficult task and something that you don't want to rush with. You want to be patient and you want to make sure you find the right fit. And basically we were not rushing testing people and seeing, because testing people means that we actually work together without any pay. We work together and we see the style of work. What's super important is like their capabilities, can they deliver, their work ethic, a lot of things that really matter in a co-founder, and how do we just get along in terms of our personalities, the co-founder dynamics, whatnot. Because Asel and I have been building this for like 5-6 months and we get along great. I'm still like every day I'm so happy, you know, that Asel and I are building this product together. I enjoy seeing her every day, which I think is I think one thing I'm good at is picking the right people. I mean, I picked my husband, and it's been 7 years since we've been married, and I'm still very happy. And every day I think that I did the right choice. Same as with Asel. Every day I'm like, her impeccable work ethic, her drive, her like capabilities, right? Like all of it just like impressed me, and I admire her a lot. Super smart, so I'm very happy with her. So I wanted someone who's no less. So we've been testing a lot of people, and then actually co-founder of my husband, Norm Usenkanov, he just writes me one day in December saying, "Hey, Aizada, my former colleague from Uber is just like exploring options. Do you want to meet him?" And I was like, "Of course." And then I met Shua. I think it was December 29th or 30th, something like that. And then I met with him, and our meeting was supposed to be 1.5 hours, and I think we spoke for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
I immediately saw so many things that I could resonate with. He grew up in a very little town, and his name actually means master. And his parents gave this name to him with the hopes that he will actually go to university, because no one in his family did. And he not only went to the best engineering school in China, but also went to UCLA and then worked at a great startup, which was later acquired, went to work at Uber, did AI/ML, got promotion like very quick, and a lot of promotions during his 5.5 years at Uber, and then was at Support Logic, got promoted to senior director of engineering and AI/ML, like incredible career track, right? A track record, but also just personally how we could relate, how we're coming from similar family backgrounds, and how we wouldn't settle for something abroad, because we were discussing is that like we made such a long journey from our countries, and being here today is a blessing to us. It's so much luck, it's blessing, there's so many smart people in the world, but somehow we are here, and we should not waste any opportunities that are coming along the way. So I felt very connected. A lot of things, a lot of stories we shared very much resonated with me. How much he cares about his family, how much he cares about people, how much he cares about impact, right? Because for me also, when we're building this product, I really wanted to help attorneys because I've been an attorney and I know all the pain points because you work so much that spending an extra hour with your family means a lot. Making your clients happy means a lot. So that's why I was like, I wanted to solve some problem. And that's what also Shore told me. He said, like, I want to build something impactful. I want to make some, a change in someone's life. So we connected on so many levels. And then I was like, Asel, you should meet him. And then we met together. And then we again spent like hours and hours together. And then we started working together. And we immediately saw how brilliant he was, how smart he is, work ethic, capabilities, just, how caring he is. All sorts of things really, really clicked. And we tested for some time. And we really wanted him to join us as a co-founder. And then, of course, when he announced his decision, we were thrilled. We were very happy. So he's officially joining us next Monday.
All right, this is great. Like you kind of partly answered my question, but it's still not full. For the next question, which I wanted to ask, your husband, Chingiz, he started Kodev, he's getting great traction, wonderful investors on his deck. He had to onboard, get out of their big tech companies, two of his co-founders. You got a co-founder out of his startup, which he was working as a senior level engineer, and the startup was like Series B, $50 million, raised, more stable job.
Yep.
The salary should have been good, I'm imagining. But like, how do you approach? You told me the story how you chose him, but how do you approach convincing him? Because you're now you're telling me that like there was a decision by him to be made. Like
Yep.
how do you go about like convincing the guy? Because like most likely there's like, the chance of that company raising and your new company venture.
Yep.
It's like the odds are against you at this
Yep.
point. And for the time being, his financial well-being is not going to be great
Yep.
until you raise a good round, get good traction. But like, how do you approach convincing such a talent that you've described?
Yep. We convinced him actually. We didn't convince him by saying anything, but actually by just working together. When we asked him because he saw so many companies himself, he was talking to multiple companies. He said like before us and in parallel with us, he spoke to so many companies. And when we asked him why he made this decision, he said, well, ultimately he wanted to be a co-founder. And what I understood, you should never persuade someone to be a co-founder. It has to be their will and their decision, because like being a co-founder is tough. So you don't want to just like go find someone and convince them. You don't want that. You want that to be their decision. So he wanted to be a founder. He understood all the risks. He understood all the downsides, but he wanted higher ownership and he wanted to build something of his own. So that was like just being a founder. That was a done deal for him. He was going to join some startup. And why it was Alma, he said that over the course of him working with us, he just really liked both Asal and I. He just liked us. He liked how we approached things. He liked how much we worked. He liked our personalities. He just like very much liked us. And he said that, of course, like odds are against us. And, with startups, you never know until you find market product fit. And once you find product market fit, this is when basically people are buying your product without you even selling it, right? So until you reach there might be a lot of circumstances that you need to overcome together as a team. And he felt like we were the team he can do it together with. He just ultimately felt like that we will not quit and we will not, just like give up at some point. That we are on it. we're on it very seriously. So it's like we're in it to win it. So he got that attitude from us, and he worked with us for like 1.5 months. Like, over the weekends, in the evenings, he couldn't dedicate a lot of time, of course, because like he was working at Support Logic. So he was working very little with us, but we were spending a lot of time like during public holidays, during weekends, whatever. So that's why it was like, it was his decision. And I think Asel and I just worked hard, and then he was like, okay, I'm convinced something magical is going to happen, from this startup.
This is great. I'm loving the like actually doing podcasts a lot, because like in like you building your startup, we're busy with building the community. Like there's not much time we can get and have this deep, meaningful discussions. These are actually great, and hopefully for our listeners, it's gonna be useful. I want to talk next about like feelings, emotions. We're located now, recording from Bay Area, Palo Alto. You like Bay Area, you like Palo Alto. I remember you said like I really wanted I asked God, I wanted to work for in Palo Alto. That was my only like ask. Is it too much to ask? Like I just want to work in Palo Alto. Like tell me about like you came here. For most of the people who are from our part of the world, and especially it was evident from the documentary which came out yesterday. The interviewer who interviewed you was saying like, "My God, this is too far. The place is like Palo Alto." He looked to Palo Alto as if it was some kind of a village somewhere out there. Like, why do you love Bay Area? Why do you love Silicon Valley?
Yeah, it's so funny in that documentary called Jer. They just literally cut everything that I was telling about Silicon Valley and about the startup. But why I love Silicon Valley is that when my husband and I moved here in 2018, he started attending Stanford Business School. I tagged along because I didn't have my work authorization to work. And it was difficult times for me because I wasn't working, and my identity was very much attached to my professional career. All of my life I was doing something, and all of a sudden I was unemployed, right? And you go to Stanford and all of these people are so accomplished and so smart, and they immediately, people in the Bay Area ask you, so what do you do? It's like, hey, what's your name? Great, like, what do you do? It's such a natural question for people to ask. And then like people always say like, oh, I do this, I work here, whatever, right? And it's such a natural thing. And I think I just fit here. I think before I lived in the Bay Area, I would always ask this question because my professional identity was so much attached to my career. My identity was attached to my professional career. And when I asked people sometimes those questions outside of Bay Area, some people got offended. And they would tell me like, why do you have to know like what do I like do professionally, like why it's important, like I'm a human being and whatever, right? And I was like, oh no, I'm not trying to offend you. I just like, for me it's like it's my identity, right? So I just also wanted to kind of understand you, what's your identity? And it was a kind of a natural question for me to ask. And in the Bay Area, I think like people are obsessed with like what they do. It's like everyone is just like building a startup, doing something, and a lot of people talk about work. I know this one founder, he's from GSB. And you know what interesting thing he told me? He said, I don't like Silicon Valley. And I said, why? Because he said, all people can talk about is startups. And he said, and I'm more than that. He said, I'm interested in culture. I love museums. I love shows. I love art. Like, I wanted to have all of it in my life. And we live in Silicon Valley. There's none of it. Like, there are no Broadway shows, nothing, right? There are occasional like some concerts of like Coldplay, and you have to drive, but there's nothing. And I'm totally fine with it. That I guess tells a lot about me, but I'm just fine, right? So that's why I am with people who are like me. And it's like, if, for example, even if I'm in New York, I would spend a lot of time to meet with people who are doing some sort of businesses. Like, I would love to meet with professionals, then to go to museums. I'm also very extroverted. Like, to me, people tell me stories, people tell me their journeys. Like, I love learning about people. I love learning about like their ideas. So that's, and in Silicon Valley, like every person I meet, I'm like, I'm in awe. I'm like shocked, and I admire everyone. I learn from everyone. I just I just love like the diversity of Silicon Valley, right? Like, when I was in the US in 2014, I there was like this thought in my mind, and I thought, should I take those classes and get an American accent, because I'm an attorney, and like the it's primarily legal space was primarily white. I did my LLM at Harvard Law School. I graduated in 2015, almost 9 years ago. It was predominantly white, and I thought, should I like fix my accent? In the Bay Area, I'm proud to be an immigrant. I don't even have a thought, even slight thought, to change my accent, because I love my accent. It makes me unique. It immediately tells that I'm an immigrant. And then people ask me, where does this accent come from? And I say, from Central Asia, Kyrgyzstan. And I just like, I love how diverse Silicon Valley is. And I know it's a bubble. And then people tell me, oh, it's a bubble. And I'm like, okay, but there are bubbles everywhere. Like, you go to Louisiana, and guess what? They're living in their own bubble. You go to other, like, yes, maybe New York is super dynamic and it has all sorts of different flavors, and also like full of immigrants, and there are multiple bubbles, right? Like of investment, finance, whatever. But Silicon Valley is a tech bubble, and I'm perfectly fit in this tech bubble, and I just love it. I love immigrants. I love the diversity of the culture. I just love that I feel just home. That's, I think, the only place I feel home outside of Kyrgyzstan. So that's why if I'm outside of Kyrgyzstan, I'm just in Silicon Valley, because of course we've traveled. You literally go to San Diego, I no longer feel I'm home. I go to LA, I no longer feel home, because like in LA, those people are all artists. They all want to make it big in Hollywood. This is a city of stars, right? Like, it's the vibe is so different. I immediately feel I don't belong there. Immediately. And in the Bay Area, I feel home. So like when the Project Jer, all of them, they belong in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I think Aziz could have also belonged in the Bay Area. But like, that's why I think it's just so different. And we always choose a place where we feel home. So Silicon Valley is home to me.
Yeah, this is so great. Like it kind of resonates, because like before coming to Silicon Valley, I think it was a peak of like this political discussions, the United States, this big division between the discourses, and I came here like coming here, and I convinced myself I'm not gonna get into politics and discuss, because like back home I was really active on the side, like especially like, do not give me bread, do not give me food, just give me a topic to discuss politically. But it's been 3 years. I haven't gone into an argument like discussing politics or whatever. Like this is such an amazing place. This is wonderful. So let's talk about something personal. Let's move on to the people who help in your life. And one of the people which I wanted to talk about, and also the family relationship. You have your husband, and he's been so instrumental in like you've told multiple times, in building your startup and showing directions, and I talked to him, and he says like, oh, Aizada this, Aizada that, like she's helped so much. Like, tell me about how to choose a partner. You mentioned earlier you made number of correct choices with your co-founders, with your husband. Like, how do you approach? Is the process different with finding a co-founder and finding a husband?
Yeah, Chingiz, I think, has, since we've been married, he's been the most the one person who's basically changed my life and impacted it the most. Because when he got into Stanford Business School and I followed him, I didn't even know that after 6 years, this is where I'm going to be. I never thought of it. I thought, okay, I'm going to follow him. I'll join a law firm and I probably become a partner at a law firm, And my husband he's very supportive, very encouraging. and very empowering. He constantly tells me how smart I am, how um, unique I am, and how many things I can accomplish. I'm very, very grateful. And when I was choosing him, when I met him, I basically wanted someone I would always think who is smarter than me. I wanted like because I always it's again it's my ego problems I guess, but like when I was at school I was like okay, like I get the best grades whatever, like then elementary school and then high school and then all sorts of things, right? Like I always thought, well, I'm one of the smartest people like in any room, I thought. But then I always wanted my husband to be even smarter than me, and like in different ways, right? Like some people are like there's like this raw intellect and there's also this like deep intellectuals who just know, like who go deep and they're deep experts in different fields. And Chingiz is like he's very very like deeply intellectual. He 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 has this like original thoughts all the time. He comes up with like frameworks, and I benefit a lot just by being his wife. We have a lot of quality conversations. I believe like all of our conversations are quality, and maybe 10% is gossip, but like the rest we're like we have these conversations and both of us enjoy it so much. I enjoy learning from him. He's like a he consumes all these books, constantly reading something, upgrading himself. And I always joke that he's like a phone. Like when I met him, he was like an iPhone 5 and now he's like iPhone 15. It's crazy. Like he upgrades every year. Like there's like new upgrade, new release, and he just like keeps getting better. And how did I like, well, first of all, clearly I fell in love with him, but I was also like rational about it because I was 29. So now you can calculate that I'm 35 because we've been married for 6 years. So we like what like as just setting aside how smart he is, he's all of his like this original thinking and beyond. He's very very kind, and kindness is something that I would never compromise in a partner, never. He's empathetical and he's kind to everyone. If you need help, he will always lend you a hand. He will never say no. He's like super like nice person, just like a nice human being. And kindness is something you don't want to compromise in your partner because this is your life partner. There are going to be different situations, but you want this person to be always kind to you and kind to others. So him being kind, generous, like and just he also has a great personality. He makes me laugh a lot. So I think before Chingiz I never laughed. and people would say that I am princesa nismiana, like the princess that never laughs. I would just like I wouldn't get any jokes. I was just like so serious. I took myself so seriously. Like I was like, no, like no one can make jokes about me, I'm so important. And then I married him, and then like he would constantly make jokes about me. In the beginning I was like, stop it, like what's your problem? But then it helped me a lot just to build, probably I was insecure, I don't know, but that made me confident. Like if people joke about me, like I don't get upset or I don't get offended. And actually like he's so funny, like all at home, like he's making me laugh all the time. So I was like, okay, he makes me laugh. He's incredibly smart, and he's like he constantly upgrades himself. He's super self-aware, and like he's super kind. I was like, this is it. And of course I was like in love so much. I was like, okay, I cannot miss this opportunity. So I just left my job when I met him. I was like a job, it's a job, like I can get any other job, but like this is the person I want to really take time to get to know and to understand if this is my person. And then I was like, okay, and it was it. So that's why it's been a great partnership. He's from Central Asia, and he is not embarrassed, to be a feminist. he's super feministic. Like he supports, of course, equal rights for women, and those are the things I like. All of our values are very similar. I wouldn't be able to marry someone who would have different political views, especially on what's happening in Central Asia, right? Like in our country, we both have zero tolerance towards corruption, for example, and that's something that also we are aligned on values. We're aligned on so many level that just makes your life easy because like when you marriage is hard the first year because like you're trying to like change your like you used to live certain way and then like a person is coming into your life, so both you're trying to adjust and compromise and learn like your boundaries whatnot, and then at least you don't want to fight about politics because both of us are like super opinionated about things, so we're like at least we don't have to fight about politics. Occasionally we might have slightly differentiating political views but not core political views, so that was also like super important. So that's why it's I guess just being aligned on that we support each other. Like he's been super supportive at home. It's like I'm a woman from Central Asia, right? Like Central Asia, it's primarily patriarchal, but he does everything at home just like me. We don't divide this is something that women does, this is something that men does. He can do anything and everything. He's of course, it's like a lot of men from Central Asia cannot even take care of themselves. He can perfectly take care of himself. He's like perfectly capable. He's capable in every single aspect of this word. So it's a partnership. We support each other. And I think I was just smart. This is a one decision I made right, that I was like, okay, this is the right person. And I was also in love, but I was also mature enough to make a reasonable decision.
Yeah, this is great. There were so many like topics and discussions which I could like ask a follow-up question, but like there's been so many of them. Let's discuss one of them. The discussing politics in general. You are both immigrants, as we all are, and you are building a product which helps immigration attorneys to first of all, like to help the smartest immigrants to come to United States at this point in time. What's your take? Because like there has been lots of discussions, and especially in the United States, with the division between the ideas and opinions, and what has been popular view in Central Asia, like people after coming to United States before they either don't have opinion on that or really pro-immigration, especially in regards to US. But after coming, they're like, oh, we need tougher immigration, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what's your take on immigration? Maybe let's discuss the immigration of the most skilled, most talented individuals.
So clearly I'm pro immigration, and I think all this, United States actually has right policies in terms of the extraordinary ability visas are uncapped. So O1, EB1, EB2 visas are all uncapped. And these are extraordinary ability visas. O1, it's a non-immigrant visa, which is given just for 3 years. But EB1, EB2 are actual green cards. And those are given to people, if you're extraordinary, like even if you have a PhD and published papers, United States would want you to be in the US. And there is a rationale behind about it, which I also talk in the podcast, is that United States, it's a smart business model. They want all the smart people when they're ready to be taxpayers. And then they're like, all the taxpayers, welcome. So then you come and you start working for a company as an employee or whatever, and then you start generating value from day one. Because, when you work as an employee, you have a green card, you start paying all this like Obamacare and all sorts of taxes that actually go towards US citizens, right? Because that's what I was surprised about when I first started my job. I was like, so wait, I'm paying for Obamacare for someone else, but I have to purchase my own medical insurance for me, so I don't get to. So that entire concept is about like immigrants come, but contribute to the economy of this country. So that is a completely business rationale. That's why they want all these smart people. And America, as we all know, is a country of immigrants. The notion of the country is like immigrants welcome. This is America is a country where dreams come true. I understand, though, those people who are concerned about illegal immigration that is happening through the hole in the southern border, right? And the thing is that it's just about the criminals that are coming through the hole. Because I believe that America should, of course, grant the asylum seekers that are applying on merit, based on merit, right? Like, there are really serious grounds for people, like right now, what's happening in like Palestine, right? What happened before in Syria, or like in Afghanistan, where those people try to all go to the United States, and they all, as a country, as an ethnic group, as a nation, they have legal grounds to seek asylum. So what are you going to do? Of course, you should take them and you should provide, because like that's universal human rights. If a person is coming and seeking asylum, you have to grant asylum if they have reasonable grounds. But right now, what's happening in the southern border, where a lot of criminals are entering, is just poses certain risks to the society. And I totally understand what people are concerned about. Because like what I don't understand is that like when they have incredibly stringent requirements on for people like who are educated, right? And then there's a hole in the border, and like 5 million people entered, and they're just like, like having this incredibly stringent standards on what people to admit based on extraordinary ability visas to the US, and you're like, how is that even comparable, right? So that's one thing I don't agree with. I think it's like what Canada did, for example, right? They welcome everyone like who has been working in the US and they had H-1B visas. They're like, if you've been working for a company and they didn't fire you, but you cannot work because of USCIS, welcome to Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, or like UK, right? Like if you graduated from top universities, welcome to UK. So I think at some point, United States might lose certain talent to other countries. But of course, I mean, like America is the country of where dreams come true. So people will continue coming to the US.
Yeah, this is really interesting, especially the United States has been the place where really dreams come true. We've known many people who've come here just by winning the lottery, the diversity lottery, and like founded these incredible companies. And isn't it the case like the diversity of like people coming from different backgrounds, if the country concentrates on keeping certain type of immigrants, like the most talented, it's of course really, really good for the businesses who are trying to get the best of the laws and legislation. But also, isn't it the diversity that makes the country unique and that has helped the United States in history? Like
I
for
agree.
yeah.
I agree, because I think it's like all these extraordinary ability visas, these are like short-term goals, kind of, because like they come in and they start working and contributing to the economy right away. But those that are coming on like asylum or like not on extraordinary ability visas, those people who come and actually struggle, their kids actually, who are the second generation of immigrants, they're the ones who are big shots in this country, because they go through like such difficulties, their parents not speaking English. So they keep this, like there is this fire inside of them that they're going to prove to everyone. And this is, they're betting literally on the second generation of immigrants, because their kids are the ones who are going to make this country great, right? So it's like, I think, and this is long-term plan. So I feel like the smart people have already planned this. Extraordinary ability visas, short-term, like, from 10 years to like whatever, 20 years. And long-term is like the kids of those immigrants who are coming here not knowing English, struggling, but their kids are going to be those who are going to replace. And because it's America, it's like always about reinventing the country, right? So I think you are totally right. That's what those people who are ruling the country, they're incredibly smart. They have thought about it all. The only concern I think is about the criminals, because like if the whole is the border is completely open, some of the criminals are coming. You cannot screen them. That's the only concern, right? That might, if like million criminals enter the U.S., of course, like that might be very dangerous, right? But I believe is that why would criminals come to the U.S. just to then have a life where you have to be super law obedient? Because that's what US makes you, right? Like if you just like in the US, what I always find funny is that in the US, if you in a pair, like something bad happened, you always go to police, and then you're like, they will help you, because if it's dark and if I'm scared on the street, I most likely will call police and they'll drop me off at home. But if I'm just driving on the road by myself and if I see police, I'm just so scared. Even if I'm driving like 65 miles per hour, their cars and them having weapons terrifies me, right? So it's like what I've noticed that a lot of people who come from like different countries who are not so law obedient in their countries come to the US, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, now they're law obedient citizens because a police officer can shoot you if you do something, right? So it's like maybe US is a country where you can actually have a second chance and change as well.
Yeah, the wonderful analogy and discussion about like the smart people knowing and planning way ahead into the future. Why aren't our countries like in Central Asia doing it? Why aren't we doing it? Like this has been like especially evident for me when after the start of Russia-Ukrainian war, like lots of the influx of like talented people from like even Uzbeks, like who previously worked in Moscow because they had better salaries, better opportunities. They returning back made so much impact for the economy of the country. And like now everything, like you go around the city and you see everything in advertisements and the billboards. You see the new blood coming to the country, right? You see the changes and everything. So what do you think about like smart people being in the right place and making the plans for the country? And on that note, I wanted to ask, like, what are your plans for the future? Do you want to stay in US for like long time or for good? Or what are your plans about?
Yeah. See, when I first met you, I really liked you because we had very similar political views about a lot of things in Central Asia. And I remember on the way home, I told my husband, "Oh, I really hope Asror goes back and one day he becomes prime minister or president of Uzbekistan. I can definitely see how we could work together," because what I really like, what's happening right now in Central Asia, before startup, I was working for someone, and once I stopped working, I would be all the time reading what's happening in Kyrgyzstan, and like I would get so upset, and I was pretty active politically. Once the startup started, it's like 24/7 I'm thinking about the startup. I have no mental capacity to even read a lot of news. I'm just reading like what's happening in AI, kind of news. And actually it also helped a little bit with my like mental health. I think it's like not reading what's happening in Kyrgyzstan helps me because like I read it every day and it would make me so upset, a lot of things. But you know what has given me peace? I was a member of a political party. I ran for the city parliament, political party called the Reforma. I initially I don't remember, was it the first election we participated, but we failed. And then I left, of course, and I went to Harvard and whatnot. But then they've tried running multiple times, and they never made it. And the reason is, and this Reforma Party, just to tell you a little bit, these are all people just like me and you. We're like-minded people. These are smart people, and they're in Kyrgyzstan. And they they care, and they care a lot about the country. And they really want to make some meaningful impact. But guess what? The people are not ready. The people do not vote for Reforma. They just, first, they don't trust people, because like over the years, all this political populism, it's like the people come and promise all these great things and give great speeches, and then they get elected and they do nothing. So now you go and say those speeches, no one trusts you. So I don't even blame them. But on the other hand, it's still a lot of like tribalism, a lot of um, a lot of like a lot of things that I don't like about politics in Central Asia. Because, for example, there were elections to the parliament of Kyrgyzstan. In my region, Jetugus, they voted for a member of the parliament who's been a member of parliament for like 10 years before, who's done nothing for the country and for the region. And people voted for him. When there was another person, Atir Abdrahmatova, who was from my political party, and she was running from the same region, and people did not vote for her. I was so upset when because in Kyrgyzstan, the votes, like the count happens online and you can see it online. I was like watching all the poll stations, and I was like watching every single station, and she was like number 3. People did not, her votes versus him were just like the gap was too high. And I could not believe that people would not vote for her. She's so smart. She's also an attorney. And I was so upset. I wanted overnight to just fly to Kyrgyzstan, print papers, and basically, like, when people would wake up in the morning, they would have posters on their front door saying, "You just made your decision for the next 5 years. Don't complain, and we understand you're happy. Like, good job. You just ruined the future of yourself and of your kids." I was so, like, frustrated. I was like, how it's not obvious? Like, she's so smart and she has clean track record. She's never worked for the government. She's not trying to come to the government to make money. Like, how it's not clear? I was so upset. And I would literally like look up every single poll station in the country, and then I was like, okay, these people in this region deserve this. Like, I was so upset. But then I understood people are not ready. Maybe in 10-15 years they will be ready. I have really, really high hopes for younger generation, because they're growing up and they're not happy with what they see. They use internet. They see what's happening in other countries. So, and they're less less subject to the older propaganda. I hope so. That open internet, TikTok, and everything that actually building an open society in our countries. So I really hope that things will change. And I will go to Kyrgyzstan. And it's always like, I understand that no one is sitting there and waiting for me. No one. I'll go, and of course, like, I'll try to make an impact. And if people want it, then I'm happy to. But even if they don't want it, I'll try to do my best. So that's the goal. But before I start giving to people, I understood that I need to be full myself. Kind of like, you cannot give it to someone else. Even like when there's, you're, this is what they tell when you're onboarding on the flight. They're like, if in situation of emergency, put the oxygen mask first on yourself and then on your baby. You cannot do the reverse, because like, if you give it to your baby and then if you basically die, it's not helpful to the baby, right? So it's like, I have to be full myself. I have to have enough resources, energy, enough experience, knowledge, maturity, everything, so that I can give back to people. So hopefully that time arrives earlier than later. And I'll go back and I'll give back to the community, because I just remember a lot of people ask me, but why? And then I just tell, I always remember myself, this girl who grew up in a village. We didn't have a TV until I was in, I don't even remember what grade. We would go to our neighbors to watch TV, and I remember times when we would go to neighbors to ask for bread, to ask for milk, because I grew up after the collapse of the USSR. We were so poor. Every day we would go to sleep and we would pray that my father would get a job so that we eat chocolate. To that extent. And I mean, all the opportunities in my life, the Flex program, right, where when I was 17, it changed my life. I'm so grateful to US taxpayers. So when I worked at Cooley at McKinsey and paid a lot of taxes, I was like, this is good. I'm paying back to the US what they did for me, right? I came for the taxpayers' money and I lived in the US for 1 year, and that changed my life when I was 17. A girl from nowhere, like somewhere in the middle of nowhere from Kyrgyzstan, came to the US and my entire life changed. So I just think about like all the girls and boys in Kyrgyzstan that if they're given an opportunity, they could achieve certain things in life and they could pull their entire family. I don't even need to help all the families. I need to help one person in a family that can pull everyone from poverty, like could offer a better quality of life, could offer a better education through their siblings, right? Like all of this, one person from a family. So that's my dream. It's like if I have a purpose and mission in my life, I think it's like giving back. I think I'm incredibly fortunate, and all the opportunities in my life that come my way, I think it's a blessing, it's luck. And when I get more blessings and more luck, I just think that they don't come for no reason. They come for a reason. And I hold myself accountable and responsible that I have to give back, and I want to give back from the bottom of my heart. So hopefully that time arrives earlier than later.
Yeah, this is great. So one day, hopefully, like eventually, Aizada will go back. Now this time with money, with popularity,
Yes.
so she can be voted into the parliament or whatever office she's running from the first try. And one of the conclusions which I made from your words, which I have been seeing in many founders, great founders, is that like one of the ideas, one of the beliefs that the United Silkroad Innovation Hub is like be the giver, go big, and be the change, is that like person who is really passionate, who is bothered by something going wrong and really cares about, be it in politics or whatever. So if he cares enough about the topic and the job he's doing to change it, he's going to be doing the same when he's building his startup and his product. Like being passionate for the problem and being really bothered, so you go out there and change it.
The determination, I think, is so important. That's why, like, all the people who, I totally agree with you. Regardless, you do music, you dance, you're like an athlete, doesn't matter. If you're passionate about something, if you're determined enough, I think just the universe, God, will just send you things like for free, and that you just have to seize the opportunity and work hard. So
really great. It was a pleasure to have you today, Aizada.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the conversation as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wish great luck with your startup. So you go out there and help immigration attorneys be 100 times more productive.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Every day in my life, I wanna see your light.